Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Will everyone please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Father Yusko?
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, sovereign King of the universe, in your great goodness, look with compassion upon these legislators, and in your mercy grant them the sevenfold gifts of your Spirit, the gift of wisdom and counsel, knowledge and understanding, courage and piety, and fear of the Lord, that they may know how best to serve the community for which they have been raised up to serve. In your generosity, also give them a love for truth and justice, that they may strive with one heart for the common good of your people. Finally, Lord, cast your merciful gaze upon the souls of those men and women who have served in this chamber, but who have since passed from this life. Having shared in your governance as faithful stewards in this life, may they now share in your joy for all eternity. We ask all this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by our legislators from District 2. Last year, we began holding legislature meetings in various locations throughout the county to make them more accessible to our residents. And I'd like to thank our host this evening here at Woodlawn Elementary School for having us, especially the school principal, John Perot. I'd also like to thank Superintendent Annabelle Solar, who we will be hearing from shortly during our Rules Committee, and Executive Director of Elementary Schools, Joe DiCaprio, for their help in facilitating this location for this evening's meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tony Jasinski, and it's my honor to chair the Schenectady County Legislature. I represent District 4, the towns of Rotterdam, Waynesburg, and Princetown. And if we could start at the end with Legislator Hess, I'd like to ask my colleagues and our folks to introduce themselves as well.
I'm Eric Hess. I represent District 4 on the Legislature, Rotterdam, Waynesburg, Princetown, Village of Delancey, Rotterdam Junction.
Tom Constantine, District 3.
Holly Villano, District 4. Thank you so much for accommodating us tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Gatta. I represent District 3, which is Scotia, Glenville, and Niskayuna.
Josh Cuomo, I also represent District 4.
I'm Rory Fluman, Chief Appointed Officer, Schenectady County Manager.
Jeff Hall, Clerk of the County Legislature.
Philip Fields, I represent District 2, which is the place that you're sitting in right now, in the Woodlawn School, as you would say, the home of the Wildcats. Welcome.
Good evening. It's great to see everyone here tonight. I'm Michelle Oshlich. I represent District 3, Niskayuna, Scotia, Glenville.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rich Paterni. I am County Legislator in District 1, the other half of the city of Schenectady. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone. I am the other Rich from District 1. I'm Rich Russo. It's a real pleasure to be here. I want to thank all of our law enforcement, first responders, our school district. Thank you for the facilities. It's a real pleasure to be out in front of the community like this, and we appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Omar Sterling McGill. I am the third part of District 1. District 1 is Bellevue, Van Vranken, the Van Vranken area, downtown, Stockade, the Vale Village area, the GE plot, and other areas around there. We are honored to be here in District 2 this evening. Thank you to the superintendent and his staff for allowing us to be here. And we appreciate all the first responders and the police force and everybody else that have joined us this evening. So thank you.
My name is Gary Hughes, and I'm a legislator representing District 2, which includes Woodlawn and some other parts of the city that aren't as important.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Did you hear who I was? My name's Rich Russo, District 1.
And we're missing two of our colleagues this evening, Sarah Mae Pratt and Peter Frizzoni, both from District 3 as well. Oh, and Jeff McDonald as well, who represents District 2 as well. So we have a couple of presentations to make this evening before we begin our meeting. At this time, I'd like to invite Legislator Constantine, Sheriff D'Agostino and his team, and the representatives of the New York State Sheriff's Association who are with us to join us in the well for our first couple of presentations, if you would.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff, for being here. Resolution congratulating Sheriff D'Agostino and the Schenectady County Correctional Facility on receiving accreditation status through the New York State Sheriff's Association. Sheriff, could you recognize who's here with you from the Sheriff's Association and your staff?
Good evening. Tonight, we're fortunate to have with us Peter Kehoe, the President of the State Sheriff's Association, and Jim Hurley. If I could invite Peter up and Jim.
Thank you, Tom and Sheriff and Chairman Jasinski. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here on behalf of all the sheriffs of New York State to recognize and honor Sheriff D'Agostino and the men and women of the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office on the occasion of reaccreditation of the Corrections Division. So only 31 of the state's 62 counties have been able to achieve accreditation of their jail. So obviously this is not an easy accomplishment and something of which the citizens of Schenectady County should be very proud. And this comes on top of accreditation of the Law Enforcement Division by the New York State Law Enforcement Agency Accreditation Council, which Sheriff D'Agostino and his office have earned. And also, I know they're well on their way to accreditation of their civil office. All of these things are a testament to the dedication of your sheriff and your sheriff's office to professionalism in their profession. So thank you for that, Sheriff. I want to congratulate Sheriff D'Agostino, under Sheriff Barrett, your jail superintendent, Ron Walsh, and all those who work in the Corrections Division for this achievement, which we honor tonight. And I would say it's very fitting that we do this tonight because we are in the middle of National Correctional Officers Week, which was originally declared by President Reagan in 1984, and by every president since then. The first week, full week of May is National Correctional Officers Week, where we try to recognize corrections officers from around the country for the great work they do for the citizens and their communities. Law enforcement, correction officers, to my mind at least, are the unsung heroes of the law enforcement system. They spend a large part of their lives locked up behind bars with some of the worst people in society. They keep us safe from those people, but they must also keep those people safe from each other. And they must always be mindful that some of the people in their charge are actually innocent. And they must always be mindful that the guilty and the innocent are both entitled to safe, humane, respectful treatment. It's a tough, unenviable job that we ask these good public servants to perform, and we owe them our gratitude for their willingness to do it and to do it right. And obviously here in Schenectady County they do it right, as evidenced by this accreditation this evening. I'd like to say a few words about accreditation specifically in corrections. It's not something that's available just for the asking. To achieve accreditation requires the Sheriff's Correction Division meets a very stringent set of standards and best practices which have been developed by the experts in corrections. These standards have 166 individual components, and to gain accreditation, jail must submit itself to scrutiny by an outside board of assessors that review the agency's operation in detail to ascertain whether or not the jail meets these many demanding standards and best practices. And I'm happy to report that the assessors which reviewed the Schenectady County Jail operations have reported to me that they meet or exceed every one of those standards. So again, congratulations are in order for you, Sheriff D'Agostino, and the men and women of the Schenectady County Sheriff's Corrections Division for this significant accomplishment. But I want to say that congratulations are also in order for the Legislature of Schenectady County and for the citizens of Schenectady County, for without your moral support and your financial support, this accomplishment and all the great work that's being done by your Sheriff's Office for the citizens of Schenectady County and all the areas of Sheriff's responsibility would not be possible. And finally, I want to say that accreditation does not just happen. It takes a lot of hard work by a lot of people, and the entire staff of the Sheriff's Corrections Division deserve to be recognized and applauded for this achievement. I particularly want to recognize several individuals who devoted a great deal of additional extra effort and time to the many administrative and operational details necessary in order to show that your jail is qualified for this accreditation. So I'd like to recognize at this time Deputy Superintendent Jack Purdy for his work on this project. Please, Jack. Captain Greg Kafari. Captain Joshua Guerin. Sergeant Christina Barrett. Officer Michael D. Pacino. And Officer Jason Jazviza. Jason? And again, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for this opportunity to recognize publicly all the great work that's being done by your Sheriff's Office here, and thank you for this time. And at this time, I'll ask Sheriff to accept this plaque recognizing this achievement. Sheriff, congratulations to you and your office.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. I'm very fortunate to have the staff that I do have working for us here at the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office. These guys do one heck of a job for us day in and day out, as do the rank and file. And some of those folks are still here in the back. Bobby Redmond's here. He's receiving a longevity pin for 25 plus years now, Bob. And we have members of the Sheriff's Benevolent Association here, Greg Snyder, Nick Smith, and got one other young man here, Chris Janiga. Quick story about Chris. When I hired him, he sat in front of me and I was asking him a series of questions. We were going through an interview and he was just very nonchalant about it. And I said, finally, I said, son, do you want this job? He goes, I'm really not sure. Well, 6, 7 years later, Chris, you're still with us. Every day I see him down in the back of the jail. I say, you're still here, huh? I say, you're going to stay? And he says, I don't know. I'll let you know. But all kidding aside, these folks do one heck of a job for you in the community, maintaining the safety and security of the correctional facility, and they perform at a level that I'm very proud of, and I want to thank them for the job well done. So thank you very much.
Good to see you again. Congratulations, Sheriff. And for those of you who have been part of this legislative body, Mr. Kehoe's been in front of this body probably 8 times in my 13 years here. So always presenting an award of accreditation, training, or something special to our Sheriff's Department. So it's a pleasure to see you again, Mr. Kehoe. I will read our resolution for our Sheriff. A resolution congratulating Sheriff D'Agostino and the Schenectady County Correctional Facility on receiving accreditation status through the New York State Sheriff's Association. Whereas the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office works to protect and preserve the rights, lives, and properties of those within our community and strive to adhere to the most professional standards and policies recognized for policing. And whereas the Schenectady County Department of Corrections is a division of the Office of the Schenectady County Sheriff, and whereas the Schenectady County Jail Division has just received reaccreditation status with a new 5-year accreditation term from September 2022 to September 2027. And whereas the New York State Sheriff's Association accreditation program is completely voluntary and is designed to enhance the provision of services by the corrections divisions of the Office of the Sheriff by improving an agency's effectiveness, efficiency, and professionalism, promoting training and morale, and helping to improve the public perception and appreciation of the work performed by these agencies. And whereas, to gain accreditation, all Schenectady County jail policies were rigorously reviewed, updated, and implemented to ensure the division operates under professionally developed standards that reflect the most current best practices and training in law enforcement. And whereas the Schenectady County Jail was last accredited in 2017 for a 5-year term, and employees have worked diligently to maintain this status and obtain reaccreditation. Now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Schenectady County Legislature, we hereby congratulate Sheriff D'Agostino, Under Sheriff Barrett, Jail Superintendent Walsh, and the entire Schenectady County Correctional Facility on receiving reaccreditation status.
One other thing, I've neglected to mention some very important people that work alongside me. My correctional superintendent, Ron Walsh, who does a magnificent job for us in managing that facility, and also my undersheriff, Jim Barrett, and our chief deputy, John Lubrandt, who also do a phenomenal job for us. We wouldn't be as successful as we were if it weren't for these folks. So thank you, gentlemen.
We also have one other resolution we'd like to present this evening. It's Resolution 80-23, a resolution recognizing Sergeant Robert DiCarlo and Deputy Stan Lennick of the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office for their life-saving actions. If I could ask those gentlemen to join me. Before I begin, I just want to give you a quick story. Sergeant DiCarlo's grandfather was a Rotterdam police officer who I worked with on my first job, or my first day on the job back in 1980. So this is the third generation with Sergeant DiCarlo. Whereas on April 14th, 2023, Sergeant Robert DiCarlo and Deputy Stan Lennick of the Schenectady County Sheriff's Office demonstrated bravery and heroism when they took swift action in a life-threatening situation. And whereas while working a shift in Duanesburg, Sergeant DiCarlo was joined by Deputy Lennick at DeMarco's Pizza to pick up food. And whereas after a few minutes of waiting, Sergeant DiCarlo noticed a gentleman in his 80s beginning to choke on food at a nearby table. Whereas Sergeant DiCarlo, after recognizing the signs of possible choking, immediately rushed over, performed life-saving measures by administering back thrusts and the Heimlich maneuver, successfully removing the obstruction from the gentleman's airway. And whereas during this time, Deputy Lennick communicated with the Unified Communications Center and EMS personnel to successfully deliver medics to the scene. And whereas Schenectady County applauds their heroic actions of Sergeant DiCarlo and Deputy Lennick and wishes to highlight the importance of their quick responses and their quick action, successful teamwork, which resulted in a life saved. Therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Schenectady County Legislature, we hereby recognize and honor their quick thinking, their life-saving actions of both, and thank them for all they do and what they continue to do. Congratulations.
Going along with that proclamation, we also have 2 citations we want to bestow on both Sergeant DiCarlo and Deputy Lennick. One is a life-saving award for Sergeant DiCarlo. The life-saving award is awarded to an officer for an act performed in the line of duty, which, through a conscious disregard of personal safety or a prompt alert action that resulted in the successful saving of a human life by rescue or physically, medically related efforts. So, Robbie, congratulations. We're very proud of you. And for Deputy Lennick, We're bestowing on him the Meritorious Service Award. The Meritorious Service Award is awarded to an employee who distinguishes him or herself by outstanding meritorious achievement while performing a conscious act of intelligent and valuable police service, demonstrating a determination to go beyond the scope of expected daily duties. So, Stan, congratulations. We're proud of you, son.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Mr. Redmond.
So this is our monthly employee engagement where we celebrate employees who've been with the county for 25 years and more. At our jail, we have 12 of these folks who have worked for corrections for over 25 years in Schenectady County. It's a 24-hour facility. A lot of these people couldn't be here, but Bob was willing to come and receive a pin. So Bob, we're here to thank you. You know, we've heard all these wonderful things about the jail tonight. We're here to thank you for your 26 years of service. Is that great?
Started in 94.
94. And again, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Here you go.
And we'll also be recognizing Jeff Rowinski for 34 years, Thomas Harrison for 30 years, Anthony Luca for 29, Victor Peronic for 29, James Barrett for 29, Dave Vanoski for 28, Sherry Jones for 28, Robin Elwell for 27, Michael Nealon for 27, Derek Schmidt for 26, and Jack Purdy for 26 at a future date. Thank you so much.
Excuse me. I just would like to add, I started my career in corrections back in '94 as well, and probably one of the toughest jobs I've ever done. So to all you men and women that have reached that 25-year mark, you know, my heartfelt thank you.
We have one additional ceremonial resolution on the agenda this evening, recognizing Pride Month in Schenectady County, and that resolution will be presented at a later date. It will now move to the Legislative Conference and the Rules Committee to be chaired by Legislator Fields.
The Rules Committee has now come to order. We have, as we heard this evening, a few ceremonial resolutions, resolution number 31, 32, and 33. If you don't, we can group these together. Sorry, 28, 29, and 30. I apologize, okay? If we can group these together, may I have a motion to move these resolutions?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolutions have been moved. Our next item is resolution number 31, a resolution to authorizing the county manager to enter into an amendment with collective bargaining agreement with CSEA, Local 1000, ASFME, AFL-CIO, Local 885, and we'll have Chris Gardner, our county attorney, actually discussing some of the new collective bargaining agreements that we just entered into.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recently, Schenectady County has had some difficulty filling open positions in the mechanic series, job title series, and also our plow driver construction series job titles. That issue was brought to the county manager by Paul Sheldon and also by CSEA, the union. and we were able to negotiate an amendment to the current contract, which we will believe will help us deal with the staffing shortage. First, there's a two-pronged approach. All job titles in the mechanic title series and the construction driver title series would receive a $3 per hour pay raise. Second, the union agreed to reduce the maximum compensatory time off accrual cap for those titles from the 240 hours to 120 hours. This reduction will help ensure fuller staffing for these employees, particularly during summer construction season. I think Schenectady County has an outstanding record of well-maintained roads and also well-plowed roads, and this will help us deal with staffing issues as they arise. We have many employees who are getting close to the retirement age, and we've also had difficulty recruiting recently. So this is an attempt to deal with that staffing shortage and ensure the safety of our residents.
Does any member have any questions on this particular resolution?
Move to the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has been moved. Our next item is resolution number 32, creating certain positions in the office of the Schenectady County Attorney's Office.
I'm requesting the creation of an additional deputy county attorney position would be situated at our child abuse and neglect office and DSS office at 388 Broadway. We currently have 10 attorneys in the county attorney's office, 5 at 620 State Street. 2 of those 5 are assigned to juvenile delinquents and persons in need of supervision cases in family court and Kendall law cases in state Supreme Court. And we have 5 attorneys currently at 388 Broadway. Sad to say, first Deputy County Attorney Mike Godlewski will be leaving my office in June to take a position in the Office of Court Administration as a court referee. He did a great job for us, and he'll be missed. We are fortunate to have Jennifer Barnes, who received her 25-year pin recently from the county manager to head our DSS office. She has over 25 years of experience in family court, and we've also hired a new attorney, Bethany Dixon, to backfill Jennifer's position. At the same time, we have, for the 5 attorneys who are permanently assigned to 388 Broadway, 2 will be taking child rearing leave, which will overlap, which will reduce us to 3 attorneys temporarily for a period of time. Even without the leaves, the overall workload in the DSS office is overwhelming. The appeals are ramping up and increasing quite a bit. It used to be fairly unusual for cases to be appealed. Now it seems to be routine. There's also been the addition of family treatment court, which we have a judicial hearing officer, James Doran. In addition to the 3 family court judges, it creates extra load as far as trying to handle those cases and have attorneys ready to go. Additionally, adult protective services, caseload has more than doubled since 2015. We had more than 315 in 2022. And I think that's a result of the aging population and the increasing number of individuals who are in need of assistance. So with all these issues coming together, we ask for the legislature to approve the creation of this one position.
Thank you. Do any members have any questions?
Move to report.
Move to report. May I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution's been moved. Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Our next resolution is resolution number 33. It's a resolution to appoint a commissioner of the boards of elections for Schenectady County. In this particular resolution, we're looking to appoint Laura Frank as a commissioner of the Schenectady Board of Elections, which should start very shortly. And I know Laura has been with the elections board for some time and worked well under Amy. And so we're looking, Amy has departed onto a different pasture, and so Laura's looking to come in. Do we have any questions on this appointment?
I just want to thank Amy for her years of service, and welcome to Laura, and I will move this to the floor.
And I will second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has been moved. And our final resolution this evening is a resolution to actually designate the place for our meeting, which will take place June 13th. And it's a resolution to have it done at the Rotterdam Senior Center, which is 2639 Hamburg Street in Rotterdam. It'll be held June 13th at 7 p.m.
Let's keep this show on the road. I make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution's been moved. And at this time, I would like to bring the Superintendent of Schenectady forward for a presentation, Mr. Solar. And I know his staff is all here, and you will continue to introduce them. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I just want to introduce some of the members of my team. Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Carlos Cotto. Executive Director is Tyrone O'Mealy for secondary schools, and Executive Director Joseph DiCaprio for elementary schools. And our lead architect and partner in this journey from SEI, Richard Little. And I also want to recognize my partner in this work and supporting the children of Schenectady, Dr. Muno, who's here supporting. So thank you, Dr. Muno, for joining me. Appreciate you. So tonight I wanted to share with the larger community, but also with the county legislators, this vision that we have in Schenectady called the Revitalization Plan. It is a little bit bold and ambitious to what's been done here in the past, but it's not abnormal to what I believe our kids and community deserve. So we've been on the road to ourselves, much like the county legislators. We have had multiple public meetings to discuss this project, and if this works well, let me just make sure. So we went and we've had 5, and tonight is our last visit. A week from today is a big day for us in Schenectady. It's the budget vote. And so my hope is that any questions from the legislators or from the larger community are answered and or there's full clarity to the vision that we're proposing. I'm going to run you through the revitalization plan and what we are proposing. There is a kind of a pull-up stanchion design here if you want to walk over and take a look. I have provided materials for all the county legislators. Everybody in the city of Schenectady should have received this via mail as well in the carrier. So everyone, the goal here is to over-communicate because oftentimes we get accused of not telling our story enough or communicating. So hopefully everybody has seen these materials. I've also provided a budget book, although I'm not going to talk about it. I think it's extremely important that the county legislators, those of you who represent the city of Schenectady, know what each school is staffed with when it comes with personnel. Our Board of Education has done a phenomenal job of supporting our vision to give kids what they deserve, and I think you'll see that in the budget book. You may have to get me there. Yeah, thanks. So again, we've done these upcoming information sessions. You do have a copy of this PowerPoint in front of you. But we have advertised it, and again, we're taking this journey with SEI Design Group, a architectural firm here located right off Wolf Road. So again, I think that's extremely important because we wanted to be invested with partners that are a part of this capital region community. Next slide. And so when I got here in July of 2021, we were in a pretty bad state as a community, as a district in the city, because we had not necessarily reopened schools for 5 days of learning. And so, you know, I'm a firm believer, I'm an athlete, former athlete. I believe that you have to have some kind of hashtag, some kind of theme, some kind of mission statement, something to believe in, something to give people hope. That doesn't cost anything, giving people hope. And so one of the things that I had come into the work, and if you're of this generation, you believe in hashtags. The hashtags are like your calling cards. And so we have a hashtag in Schenectady called Schenectady Rising. The county is more than welcome to use it as you guys rise the county up and the work ahead. So it's for everyone, it's for all of us. But my goal here was, Rich, thanks. My goal here was to reopen the schools for 5 days of in-person learning. And again, I want to remind everybody, Schenectady City Schools was the only district in the capital region that was closed for 18 plus months, which we're still dealing with the effects of that. The second R word here is rebuilding. We want to rebuild our schools to state-of-the-art facilities so that high-quality teaching and learning can occur, so our kids feel safe. They're in facilities that rival their peers in suburban school systems. We want to also reignite our district with a commitment and dedication to teaching and learning, equity, engagement, and efficiency. Next slide, Rich. And so, everyone's driven off data, and so this is nothing that I did. This is the census data. It talks about the growth in Schenectady County. It talks about the number of housing units, something that we don't talk enough about. We're one of the only regions that grew in the state. If you're blue, it's a good color. If you're orange, not so good. Again, it's a conversation that we're not having, but we need to start having it as we think about the impact of schools and the districts and the community, obviously impact the voters. But if you look at it, we have grown. I'm not going to go into detail here, but I wanted to provide this to you because this is the basis. Our enrollment has stayed pretty stagnant for quite some time. Next slide. This is obviously a closer look. The city is in the darker kind of shaded green there. And you can see we're about 67,000 residents in the county. Oh, I'm sorry, in the city. My apologies. Next one. This is the district, what we look like, and this isn't like a Fruity Pebble diagram or anything like that, but it is a breakdown of our feeding patterns. Those colors represent where our students live and then the schools that they're assigned to. Currently, our schools are assigned by where they reside. So a student would not go from one side of, this is where Van Corlear is, they wouldn't go to middle school on the other side of town unless there was some type of hardship or special request. We try to keep those students geographically registered, and they go through a group of elementaries to one middle school to ultimately Schenectady High School, which is on kind of this upper part of the region here. Sorry, over there. Go back, Richard. And so I think a couple things that it's important to understand while we're talking about revitalization and facilities. Schenectady City School District is in charge of 18 school buildings, 11 elementary, 3 middles, 1 alternative campus, 1 adult education center, a high school, and we currently have a vacant elementary school building over in the, called Fulton, over on, similar to Van Corlear side of the community. It's vacant, but it really should be used because we do have a need with the growing number of pre-K and kindergarten students trying to get into our district. We're responsible for 1.8 million square feet. And so that's a lot of buildings, that's a lot of facilities to be responsible. And the average age of our buildings is 95 years old. And so I say that because that's important to understand why this revitalization plan is so important. Our kids are in schools that are almost a century old. And in some cases, they look it. Tonight, you happen to be in our youngest building. This building was, I think, 1974. Total number of employees in the district is close to 2,000. We have 1,900 employees. And we have an operating budget that is also going up for vote of $265 million. Here's a quick breakdown of our schools. It's always just nice to kind of get a better sense. Some of you have personal connections to these campuses. And so you can kind of find your school, see who went there. Mr. Redmond, he was a Mount Pleasant Red Raider. He let me know that. So there's a lot of affinity to our schools. That's Mount Pleasant in the background you see in the silhouette. But I want to point out how elementary school is 1905, and not much has changed in that building. There was an addition that was added to it, but for the most part, there are a lot of things that have been either overlooked or not in compliance when it comes to ADA, when it comes to securing our buildings for safety. And our youngest building is Woodlawn, which you're currently residing in. And so again, average age of our building is 95. Next slide. So, we've done capital project work in Schenectady. And so despite what you may read in the paper, this isn't really new. But what's new is the approach of being a little bit more bold and not asking our voters every couple years to borrow. Well, we've done that in Schenectady. Phase 1, we did those schools on the left, and we asked to borrow $70 million. And the community supported that. And then we did work on those buildings. And then phase 2 came, and it was from 2017 to, it's still just finished up, 2022. And we asked to borrow another $64.5 million. And again, it was supported. But in that work, there were some schools that were not done. And so I highlighted them just so you can have an understanding that sometimes some of the things changed. That was a result of partially the coronavirus pandemic that we were in. cost, some things had to be sacrificed given shortages, and so some of those things didn't get done. But I point that out because that's 135 million or so that was done in 2 phases. And so what I'm asking for is a 7-year permission from the community to borrow up to 300 million so we can either catch up some of the schools that we missed and to address some of the schools that have never been touched in over a decade in this community. So this is where we introduced the revitalization plan. And again, we want to revitalize our schools. We're not trying to close schools down. We're trying to revitalize them. We're trying to give them what they deserve to be, that look like they're in 2023, have the technology, have the infrastructure, because these schools really belong to the community, and so we want them to start being used by the community versus just kind of sitting closed here after hours. And so part of this investment is to elevate the facilities not only for teaching and learning, but ultimately to be a resource for the community as a whole. So you're going to notice a big price tag on Schenectady High School. Schenectady High School hasn't really been touched much since it merged between Mount Pleasant and Linton and became Schenectady High. That's over 30 years ago. So just to give you some context, last year was 30 years the Schenectady High has been around. Central Park, $25 million. Again, another campus, and I'll go through these real quickly. So I'm not going to read the rest because I'm going to go through them individually. But that's how we come up with the $300 million. And the last piece is this district-wide BCS, and I forget, educators, we love acronyms, and that stands for Building Condition Survey. And every one of our schools has to be gone through every 5 years, and we develop kind of a list. Next slide, Rich. This is a high-level plan. It's always subject to change, but this is the journey here. We are at phase 1 here at the end, and we're waiting for voter approval. But if we get voter approval, this is the timeline in the schools that we would start in, with the goal to be complete by 2030. You're going to notice Fulton is identified as swing space, so we can move our elementaries through. The benefit of having swing space is that we can work on a building without disrupting learning and teaching, but also maximize on the time of the project. Oftentimes, you'll see school systems only work at night, on weekends, and in the summer. Not too many contractors like that type of schedule, nor do they want to bid on those types of jobs. So us being able to have an empty building, we believe is going to put us at an advantage with contractors to be able to get in there to work and not have any disruptions to teaching and learning. And so, next slide, Rich. And so, again, I talked about this, May 16th, next week, big day for us. We're hoping everyone goes out. I can't tell you how to vote, but I can tell you to vote. So please go out and vote. And that'll kick us off, and then we'll start the design process. If we're successful, we'll know that night. We usually tally that night, and we'll know how to move forward. And so that will start us this process of developing concepts, designs, and getting into bids and documents until ultimately occupancy by 2030. So go ahead, Rich. This is a little bit hard of a graphic to see on the screen. I apologize. If you want to see it, you should have electronic versions of this as well, but if not, this is on our website. Each one of those buckets shows how much money each building needs in terms of work done when it comes to the construction or the building condition survey. And so we use that as a baseline. Those are things like windows, doors, asbestos flooring that needs to get removed, ceiling that needs to get repaired, or roofing, I should say, that needs to get repaired. And so that's a breakdown. And on the right, we live in a different world now. And so we know that security needs have to be addressed. We have our family's most prized possession in their children. And so there's an expectation that they're safe with us, that not only our staff, but also our students. And so when we close the doors to school, we want to ensure that no one can just walk into a building, and that if someone were to walk in the building, we can secure the building without putting anybody in jeopardy. Nothing's foolproof, but we do have to make some investments on cameras, secure vestibules, door controls, things of that nature. And so that's kind of that price tag. And we're trying to be really transparent here and show you that these are the dollars, these are the figures that come from our architects reviewing each of our buildings. And you're going to notice that some of these price tags are less than what we put on the revitalization, because we also have to change how kids learn, and that is not really captured here. This captures the things that need to get done because they're deteriorating or have a short shelf life. Boilers, things of that nature, infrastructure items. Next slide, Rich. And so first school we talked about was Schenectady High School. Again, you can kind of see some of the pictures here, things that we aren't necessarily always proud of, but those lockers are original lockers. And so you see a photo of one broken. We end up having to take that out and put a piece of wood up or put something in place of it, because they're just not of the vintage that we can just easily replace. And so we have those throughout the buildings. We have control panels that are extremely dated, again, over 30 years, in some cases 50 years old, part of the original Linton campus. All the windows in that high school are single pane. If you're a homeowner, you know that is bad, right? And so our heating bill, National Grid likes us, but our heating bill is extremely high, and we have a hard time controlling the HVAC system as a result of having single pane windows. And so you can see in the chart is kind of a breakdown of what those things are, and I put a little list of items as well to the right, so you can kind of see these are the things that we would address. Next one. And this is kind of just a concept of an areas that we would like to do. These are some mock-up images of some areas. We would like to create a collaboratorium. Our high school is used for everything, sometimes by external groups, but also by internal groups. And so creating more spaces where people can collaborate. That's a play on words, auditorium, collaboration, collaboratorium. It's what us educators do, Philip. We invent words. We have a weight room in there. We know that athletics is important to our kids. Health and wellness is important to our kids. And so making sure they have a facility that they deserve, that builds on that. The old family and consumer science classroom, which really has changed to like a culinary program, making sure our students can become independent. We have a great partnership with SUNY Schenectady. We want kids to fill their culinary program. We got to start at the high school and build up. BOCES does a great job, but we have a lot of kids at the high school, and they can't take all of our kids because they have to be shared with other districts in the region. And then looking at our locker rooms and renovations. So everything in purple is an area that we would look to renovate. We're redesigning the high school experience to have leadership communities that are focused on career pathways. And so this is intentional, and this would mirror that redesign development. Next slide. This is what it would look like. And that legend on the side is kind of these leadership communities. One would focus on the arts, culinary. Obviously, we'd have the athletics facility. STEM, we know STEM is really important. If you know anything about semiconductors, they're always looking for employees, and we want to be a part of that. There would be just a central location for the high school principal and his team, administration, counselors, things of that nature. Humanities would be a part of this, and a business leadership pathway. And so we want to redesign this. We've talked about expanding our kitchen, and I don't know if many of you know, but our high school kitchen feeds all of our buildings. We have one central kitchen at the high school, and we prepare all the food there, and we go out to all the schools. We deliver food to all of our buildings, because most of our buildings, except the middle schools, don't really have kitchens at the elementaries because of the challenges of the facility. So we have warming stations. And so, again, just think about that. Our kids don't deserve that. Our staff don't deserve to have that be the norm, that kids in our elementary schools are getting warmed meals prepared at the high school because we don't have the capacity to have kitchens in all of our buildings. So again, the part of our intention here is to redesign this. One thing in particular people always get mixed up is where's the front of the building. If you ever drive down Schenectady High School, you go down the plaza. That's actually where the front of the building's facing, is not the plaza. It's facing, I think it's Grand on the backside. And so we want to redesign that so there is a public entrance that faces the plaza, because every time everybody pulls up, they pull up on the plaza side thinking it's the front of the building, but there's no indication. So we would redesign that really around security and safety to make sure there's a secure vestibule so that our families can be welcome, but also we can protect anybody from just randomly coming into the building. And right now, what we did spend money on this past year was securing the exterior of the door. So any door that opens, an alarm goes off and a camera turns on to basically record who went in and out of a doorway. Next slide. This is just a high-level aerial view of the construction plan. You're going to notice, again, just the color code. And you're going to notice some work being done out on the tennis courts. We're fixing the tennis courts. They're inoperable right now. Again, we have a high school that can't even play tennis because of the condition of the tennis courts. And again, our community relies on those tennis courts as well. And we're going to expand some parking. Next slide. Central Park, again, I'm going to go quick on these because it's going to be kind of routine. You're going to notice on the left images of some of the challenges. We have doors that have basically non-compliant locks on them. They're not even compliant because they're not ADA compliant. They're the old twist. Look at the flooring mismatched tiles. Again, staff have done a great job trying to keep things together, but at some point you've got to rip the Band-Aid off and kind of start over. You've got some challenges on some water and some roofing You've got the masonry starting to deteriorate. It's a beautiful building. It actually even has the City of Schenectady logo on the top here. I don't know if people know that, but many of our buildings we're finding through their deeds, they used to be owned by the city. So maybe we'll ask them to borrow the money, right? There you go. Just kidding. And so there's some program improvements on the right. Next slide. This is the Freshman Leadership Academy. This is new to Schenectady. We've been talking about this with the Board of Education, with our staff, with our families. This is the work of Executive Director Tyrone O'Mealy. Our Deputy Superintendent has worked on redesigning the secondary school experience. And one thing we found out is, you know, you go from 3 middle schools, the first time you meet your classmates is in high school, and there's 2,700 kids in the building. It's not a good way to start your freshman year when we know that that's the most critical year of success. And so one thing we're proposing is to, again, change the narrative of the Steinmetz campus and really make it a freshman leadership community, bring all 3 eighth grading classes to one building with the focus of thriving in 9th grade, getting kids to have 5 or more credits so they can become successful. And with that, they're going to need the facilities to do that. And there's a restroom right there on the left. And if you know teenagers, not many kids are using a restroom where you can just look over and see in the stall next to you. And so these are some of the challenges that we have. So sometimes we have to take a restroom that's used for multiple people really to make it single use because of the fact of privacy. Deteriorating masonry, we have gates that are deteriorating. And again, you can kind of see the breakdown highlighted here. We've got to replace boilers in this school. We've got a lot of work here. We actually have to expand the cafeteria. It doesn't fit the amount of students that we need to fit there without having students eat lunch at 10 a.m., which is not really a good time to start eating lunch. So we need a bigger cafeteria to accommodate that. We also need to secure the vestibule here so that no one can just open the door and get right into the building. We have to create a secure vestibule entryway. Next one. And this is just an overview. And if you know the Steinmetz community, where Steinmetz Career Leadership Academy sits, this is an important community here. This is the Mount Pleasant neighborhood, all right? And they deserve to have some things also to enjoy as part of the work of this construction project. So one of the things we're proposing is to put some basketball outdoor courts. The closest basketball court outside is at Jerry Borough Park. So again, this would create something. We have Mount Pleasant would be really literally over here. Pleasant Valley is over here. It would create a nice grass field so kids could play soccer. We know soccer is important to our community. We have some pickleball. We know that's growing in the community as well. But we also have parking, something as simple as parking. This community, they're really good to us, but I get a lot of emails and complaints that our staff park in front of their houses, and they would like them to park in the school. We just don't have enough lot. So we're going to create and try to address that and help them out. Everything in orange is where we would do some renovations, some heavy reno. And then in blue, we would add, expand the cafeteria right in this kind of courtyard area. And again, science classrooms, secure vestibule. Next slide. Is Van Corlear Elementary School. You open that front door, you're literally in the building, and classrooms are literally 15, 20 feet away from you. That's not secure. So that's one of the things we have to fix here is creating a secure entrance and vestibule. This is an old, Rich, what is that material? It's a boiler, but it's all like solid cast iron. Yeah, it still works, but it's cast iron and it's on its last leg, but it needs to be replaced. Our restrooms are in bad shape, deteriorating masonry, and so again, a bunch of the things that I will list here on the right, you can read those. Next school. Howe Elementary School, I talked about this, 1905 is when it was built. It's got some really cool gargoyles up on the top if you want to check out. There's some gargoyles in the library as well. It makes a good Halloween celebration addition for the kids in the library, but the reality is that it's deteriorating and falling apart. If any of our folks who are handicapped, need handicap accessibility, tried to get into the building, they couldn't because there's steps only to get in. They'd have to literally go around the side of the building. And so you think about customer service, you think about what's friendly for our families and parents. It's not really being inclusive. We thrive ourselves on being, diverse. Equity inclusion is one of our core pillars in the district. And so right now, families have to walk up steps in order to get into the main front of the building. And again, once you open that door, you're in the building. The nurse's office is literally in that same area. There's nothing that stops anybody who wanted to get into the building. We do need to upgrade, add toilets to some of the kindergarten classrooms. We do need to work on some of the masonry. Our music and art classrooms need a lot of work. And in this school, just so you have an understanding, you can't have lunch and gym at the same time because it's the same space. And so you're at Woodlawn, the gymnasium's in there, so kids could go to gym, kids could eat in cafeteria. At Howe, they have to sacrifice and basically feed the kids and not have to do both at the same time. And in Schenectady, New York, weather's not the best, so we can't always go outside and play. So one of the things we would like to look here is figure out how we can address that. And parking is extremely challenging in the Howe community. It is very landlocked over there, so that's always a request. They want us to do more about parking, but that's going to be a challenge. Next slide. Page Elementary School, another one of our great schools in a good part of the community, not too far from here, from Woodlawn. But look at that electric box. You can't even find those things at Home Depot, those round circular fuses. Good luck. We have a couple boxes of them because we stockpiled them. But when they blow, it becomes a challenge. Our exterior doors are deteriorating, our masonry is deteriorating. We've got parts of the building that are technically considered inaccessible because there's not enough oxygen for you to go in there and service the equipment. And so we are looking at trying to address that as well. We've got some exterior work, masonry work, secure vestibule, providing a counseling suite. Right now, counselors are not, they're like in a shared classroom with multiple people. Gym partition needs work. Again, you can get an idea here. Next one. Kane, this is also on the ballot, so I do want to make sure I put a plug on this. We're asking for permission from the community, the greater community, to purchase Kane. For some reason, the district has been leasing Kane for over a decade at a cost of about $200,000. We're asking to purchase it for $2 million. So if you think about it, we've spent $2 million leasing it when we could have probably bought it out for that price. So we're going to take a different approach, look to buy it, and then look to revitalize it. And so we're working with our partners at St. Luke's Parish. Father Sopel and his team have agreed to come up with the purchase price of $2 million, but we do need the community's permission or approval on the 16th to buy it. If we buy it, we have work to do. We have a part of the building we can't even use. There's a convent, right? Is that right, Rich? Convent? Yeah, a rectory, yeah, it's still there, and we can't even use it. It's not SED compliant, so we can't put kids in it, but we want to use it, and so we want to renovate it. We want to do some work. The nice thing about Kane is that it's an important part of the community. It sits over there off of Albany Street. Next slide. And this is our vision of what we would see there. Right now, if you drive down Albany around 8 o'clock, it is hard to move down there because we have two elementary schools literally a block from each other, but we're looking to put in a cut-in so that the buses can get out of the way and parents can do a parent drop-off. Right now, parents have to drop off in the back of the building, so they literally come in, you see the little red dot, they come all the way back here and come all the way, they drop them off. This is where the kids get dropped off. And so we want to change that and make this the front of the building, have a secure drop-off here for folks to come in, drop the kids off and move on, and not come in here. The nice thing about the Kane is this whole property land would become ours, and then we can expand. This all in blue would be an expansion. We would add 20 classrooms. It would basically become, hopefully, the lighthouse in that community of a elementary school. It would potentially allow us to enroll 500 students there, making it one of our largest elementary schools in the city of Schenectady. We have a huge need for pre-K, K, and 1 seats currently. And so right now, all of our schools are at capacity. These are just some mock-ups. And so that's what's exciting for us. We would relocate the playground, and then we would do some work here. The red would be the kind of the rectory area that's not usable. We would re-gut this out. And so that's the vision for Kane. Again, that is dependent on successful voter approval, so we can purchase it, and then we can do the work. Next one is Lincoln Elementary School, and I did mention Lincoln is down the street. It's literally 1 block over from Kane. And so those two schools potentially could become one big school at Kane, or we could add an early childhood center, which we strongly believe we need, given the number of pre-K. And I don't know if you know this, we offer 3-year-old pre-K in Schenectady. People don't know that, along with our 4-year-olds. And so in Lincoln, I can't, Philip, you wouldn't even be able to walk up the steps without putting your head down because the stairwells are not built for anybody over 6 feet. I think you're 6 feet, right, Philip? Yeah. And so there's some cracks in the walls, a lot of work on the roof. This has a cafeteria that's literally located in the basement, so our kids eat in the lower level of the school because that's where the cafeteria is. And they start at 10:30 in the morning because we can't feed all the kids without going past the end of the school day, so they have to start early in order to fit. It's only 2 classrooms at a time, so that's part of the challenges that our kids face there, or our staff face there. Our kids don't know the difference. They're just happy to be in school. They want to see their friends. but we believe they deserve more than what we're giving them. Next. So Fulton, we talked about it. This would be swing space, but we would need to put work in here. There's currently no elevator in this building. So again, to be ADA compliant, we would need to put an elevator. We would need to do some work here. And then as schools swing through here, we want this to be a high quality space for them to swing through. We don't want them to swing through a space that's falling apart. But at the end of the cycle of all of our work in our buildings, this would reopen back as a early childhood center or as a small elementary school. So I get a question asked a lot. No way, we can't write the superintendent a blank check. There's various statements to get sent out there. What we're doing is right within the law of New York State School Education Department capital project funding. Because of the poverty rate and because of the community that we serve, we get 98% back on every dollar we borrow during the life of the bond. So, I don't know, for every dollar we pay 2 cents. And so as we do this work, $300 million, up to $300 million, will cost the district $5.5 million or so, or $6 million. We already have that put aside in capital reserve in our current budget. We have the money put aside, and I'll show you that shortly. And so this project, even though we will take bonds for 20 years, as we pay it off, we get reimbursed 98%. So people say, well, that's taxpayer dollars. It is taxpayer dollars. It's the entire state's taxpayers' dollars. People from Syracuse and Buffalo, everybody's part of this formula that pays for this. It's not just our community. And again, this is what the State Education Department has put in for school communities to go out and get capital projects. And so this is the legal language. I like to put this up there so people know. Next slide, Rich. Again, zero tax impact. We're not raising taxes to do this project for the life of the project. We ask now permission for the next 7 years to borrow up to $300 million. Again, maximum cost allowance, we'll get 98%. Capital reserves has the 2% put aside. And we also have this thing called Excel Aid. The district received Excel Aid a couple years back and has never used it. And it's been sitting in an account exactly for this type of work, for capital work. On the right is some ongoing projects that I do want to share that are part of this, that we are starting already, given some of our funding opportunities. And so I'm just going to run through these quickly and then open up for questions. Next slide. This is just, again, a timeline. I talked about the tennis courts. Go back. Yep. So the tennis courts is starting this summer. These will be starting to work on. We're going to start working on these tennis courts. So anybody who plays tennis and lives by the Schenectady High School area, I'm sorry, but they'll be back soon, and they'll be back hopefully better. And we're going to expand the parking because we are going to lose a little bit of the parking there. Next slide. This is probably the one I'm most proud of. We're going to redo the Mount Pleasant field, bring it back to what everyone tells me are the glory days. There used to be a big football game there on, I think it was on election night. The entire city would come to Mount Pleasant and watch them play. And we're going to have, there's going to be a turf field, turf stadium, with a section 2 to hold sectionals here. We can hold competitions here. It'll be a high quality, both track and field. It'll do lacrosse. It'll do all the sports that we currently play. Right now, we're over-reliant on our high school as being the only place to play. This would allow some breathing room. And then obviously Mount Pleasant is there. If you've ever been to Mount Pleasant, you know it's really tough behind the building. This would expand the parking, give our kids a safe walkway to the stadium. It would move our seating. It would actually add seating for visitors on the other side. Right now, there is no seating. We have lights we will be replacing. You can see on the overview, the shot put, discus throw, those items would be here, the long jump. And one thing in particular I want to point out that I think is really special is a gentleman just recently passed away who was basically an icon on this field, and that was George Rose. And if anybody knows George Rose, he put his life work into this, and we have a young, up-and-coming Belmont youth community that plays. This is their home field. And so we're about to give our youth of Schenectady a state-of-the-art youth field as they work their way up. Part of their story will be playing on this field, playing under the lights in that community. And so we're excited. But this right here, this little red box here, is going to be the George Rose. It's currently dedicated to him. It's over here. We're going to move it, and we're going to rededicate it to George Rose again. And we're in conversations right now to potentially name the field in his honor as George Rose Field. So more to come on that, but that's the hope. And the last thing I would say is that right now when our kids play, there's no water out here. So our kids don't have any water out here. We literally run a hose from the building all the way out here. And so we will have bathrooms, and we will have running water, and we'll have water fountains, and they'll be able to cook and do things that they deserve to do as a community. And again, Boys and Girls Club is right next door, and so this becomes part of their opportunity to access that as well for various events. We do a ton of stuff there. So, and this is happening this summer. We're starting on this work. We're going to start tearing ground on this. This is separate from the revitalization plan, but it supplements the work that we're doing. Next. This is secure vestibule at Steinmetz. That has started. It's just a drawing. Next one. Again, Mount Pleasant doing the same exact thing, securing the building so that when people come in, this is on the district office side. And so right now, if you walked in the district office, there's nothing stopping you from getting the kids because we literally have to put somebody in front of a door because we have no physical mechanism to prevent you from running into the building. And so again, we have a priority to protect our kids. And so it's better use to build the infrastructure than to put an adult standing in front of a door all day long. Next one. This is Yates. We're doing some renovation at Yates to give them a kitchen that can serve better meals. Next one. This is Pleasant Valley. If you've been to Pleasant Valley, right now the building is this little dotted line here. We're going to double the size of the cafeteria, come out, add an addition, give them a full kitchen, and again, allow them to serve. Kids get a nice line. Now they can serve double the number of students at once. They're really excited about this. And the space that we took was literally just concrete slab outside the school, so we didn't take anything away from the school. Next slide. This one is also exciting for our kids. They're getting brand new playgrounds in many of our buildings. Every school we touch will get a playground. These 4 are getting it right now. So Woodlawn that you're here, they're gonna get an ADA compliant playground, so a kid in a wheelchair can get on some of the rides. There are some experiences that any kid with any physical limitations could participate in. But these 4 schools are getting playgrounds also starting this summer. And there will be not wood chips. They will have rubber flooring that allows the water to go through. No more wood chips. I know that's been a complaint. People hate wood chips. So we're getting rid of that as part of this. Next one. Again, this overview project timeline. You can see that we're starting on these summer projects now, or they start in the spring. The drawings are submitted to SED. Everybody's short on architects, so it takes a little time for them to get approved, but we'll start breaking ground. Next one. And so again, we need your voice. May 16th is the vote. These are the items that we're asking the community to vote on. There's 6 of them. Number 2 is the revitalization plan. The first one's our budget. Again, no increase to the tax levy, 0. It's our 6th year going out at 0. We haven't increased taxes in the community in 6 years. It's actually longer than that. Purchase of Kane Elementary School from St. Luke's. Again, $2 million purchase price. We're also looking to purchase 530 Liberty Street, which is the former Ortho New York. We want to create a family and community engagement center right in the heart of, or close as downtown as we can get, and bring our employees down to the downtown and be part of this revitalization, or again, probably part of the rejuvenation of the downtown corridor. But we really want to just create a one-stop shop for our families to deal with transportation, registration, special education, suspension hearings, anything they need to deal with, they go to one building versus you go to this door, you go to this building, you go to this for that. Currently, they have to go to 2 sides of Mount Pleasant in order to get service. There's a red awning and a blue awning, and it becomes sometimes an inconvenience to our families. And again, it's not very suitable, it's not very welcoming to walk into a basement of a school as the first experience you have as you register your child to enter Schenectady City School District. So we want to change that narrative. We also want to add a student representative to the board, which we also need the community to vote on and support us. And then we want to elect 3 members to the Board of Education. Currently, there are 4 people running, and there are 3 open seats. And that concludes my presentation. Again, here's a cool graphic. When you have we have a social studies teacher, Mr. Balog, who's a teacher at Mount Pleasant. He has a drone, and he took this picture, and he knows that we've been running on this mantra of Schenectady rising, and there's the sun rising over Schenectady, and in this place over Mount Pleasant. So I'll take any questions if anybody has any, Philip.
Thank you very much. This is a very comprehensive report of what's going on in the city of Schenectady, the school district. And it's certainly very good that the taxpayers can actually learn more, once again, about the school budget vote that's coming up in just a week, and how important it is to actually provide an experience to the future children of Schenectady. As I listened to you today, I felt kind of sad in a sense because everything seems sort of out of touch with the rest of the other school districts. And this is something that's looking to bring it up to a standard that it's important for the kids in the city of Schenectady to actually have and improve their learning. But there are some other good things that we can talk about in Schenectady, because it's important to have the student voice board actually join the school board, but it's also important to have an expansion. And I emphasize once again, as you said, no taxpayer dollars, at least in the Schenectady school budget, is actually going to increase the property tax as a result of these improvements.
Correct.
Yeah. Perhaps some of the members may have some questions or additional questions, because this is very informative, and I do appreciate what you're doing here.
Thank you.
My children went to this school district, and they went to Page, and then they went to Central Park and Schenectady High School, and they played tennis.
Hey.
But they played at Central Park.
Exactly. And that's why, that they play at Central Park, because the courts are not up to snuff.
Yes, I appreciate, they'll be surprised to hear what's happening here, and at least it's good to play in your own home school when these sports, intramural sports or competitions are taking place. If anybody else has any questions for the superintendent?
Well, wow. You know, just listening to this presentation and understanding, you know, what our young people have, the conditions that they are trying to learn in at this time is, I'm blown away. You know, and with this presentation, with the work you're doing, Superintendent, you know, the Schenectady Rising is the word, is the right moniker to use. This is amazing to see. I'm very excited about the work that you're continuing to do. Your leadership has been great so far. You didn't come into an easy job. You didn't come into an easy situation. So I want to commend you for the work that you and your team continue to do. You guys are very open. You guys are very welcoming to us, you know, as leaders in this community to try to work together. We say, you know, working together works here on the county, and this is showing what we can do as a community. You know, so I'm really, really excited about the work that is that we're going to be doing moving forward, improving our facilities, improving our academia, and you know, it's a pride thing. You know, being born and raised in Schenectady, you know, seeing Lincoln Elementary School, it's a school I went to. I remember those stairways. So, you know, it's just really, really great to see. And I really, really like the approach that you're taking, that it's a community, and you're not just working with our young people, but you're working with our families, and you're bringing our families in and making sure you can support them. So I just want to commend you on the work you're doing, in any way that, you know, I can be of support, or any way that, you know, we can be of support on the ledge. You know, please continue to let us know. And we're here, we got your back, and thank you. Just thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing anyone else? Hearing none?
I have a quick question.
Oh, certainly.
Have we done any forecasting or trending for student enrollment from past history to the future? Can you have any feel for that?
Yeah, so the only dip we've had right now is homeschool numbers went up as a result of the pandemic. So we have about 200 or so homeschool students. But we've stayed above 9,100 for probably the last 7, 8 years. We're actually larger than Albany. People don't realize that. We have more kids in Schenectady than they do in the Albany City School District. You know, they have more proliferation of charter schools, which have taken some of their enrollment down. But we've been pretty steady. We actually did a study, an enrollment study as part of this work, and we can share that with the county legislator. But we've been over 9,000, as high as 9,300, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And the students that we lost, we're at 9,100 right now. There's 260 of them on homeschool. So part of our challenge is figuring out why homeschool is still a viable option after the pandemic. Some of the families were just upset with us. We didn't offer virtual. We didn't offer a virtual option. And so, you know, maybe it's time we start looking at that, because then we can get those enrollments back into our account and potentially create those opportunities. So we did do, you know, birth study. I showed the census data where it shows the number of housing units has increased. You know, and so there's the total number of population increase in the Schenectady area as well. So it wasn't high, but it was one of the only blue areas across New York State when you talk about declining population.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
just remind people to go vote.
Yep. Thank
Vote
you very
yes
much.
next week. Thank you very much, Superintendent. Okay, with that, the Rules Committee will now come to a close.
Thank you, Legislator Fields. It's now time to open up privilege of the floor. Any members of the public present who would like to address us during privilege of the floor, we'd ask you to come to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to comment during privilege of the floor?
Good evening. My name's Allison Marinucci. I live at 2280 Nelson Drive in Niskuna. I'm here with some of members of our young community from Scotia Glenville. I'm here this evening to advocate that the county show its support for the queer community during Pride Month in a very simple but powerful way, which is visibility. I'm asking this body to fly the Pride flag on its buildings throughout the month of June. So if you've been downtown at Gateway Plaza, there's an arch commemorating Stonewall, which was 54 years ago. The queer movement reached a turning point. It was an uprising in a bar in New York City where individuals fought back for the right to exist and just to be themselves freely. This was a significant spark in the rights for the queer community, and it was started by trans women of color. 54 years later, they're still fighting for the right to exist. So I'm going to give you some data from the Human Rights Campaign. It's still a very dangerous time to be a trans woman. A review of cases of fatal violence recorded from 2016 to 2021 illustrates how anti-trans violence is intersectional, with risk shaped by race, gender, class, and other factors. During this period, at least 88% of the transgender people were killed in Florida, 91% in Ohio, 90% in Texas were people of color. A disproportionate number of this are Black gender trans women who are particularly affected by fatal violence. These are human beings with people who love and care for them, with lives which were threatened or taken. And across the country right now in Montana, a little public servant who is elected to speak for their community is not being allowed to speak, is being censored. So this is something that is still going on as much as we have said we have come forward. And certainly, this is Schenectady County. I'm not asking this body to tackle every systematic challenge facing the queer community, wouldn't be appropriate. But visibility is so important, supporting those who are at risk, who aren't seen. When we see a flag, we see support, we see acceptance, we see inclusivity. I understand there's a proclamation, and I think that's a lovely gesture, but it does not have the far-reaching visibility the way a flag does. I'm asking this body to support those in your districts, to use the symbol of the flag, to show a message to those that you represent. We're here for you, we support you, we see you, we're proud. I also want to make note that I think that this county shows that they care for the most marginalized, and we're going to lead with love rather than fear, like some of our colleagues over in Rensselaer County. So I'm just asking this board to think about that as you think about Pride Month and we see the rainbow flag and it's really nice and we feel good about it, what we can do to show our support in a small way, and that's to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. How are you? My name is Harris Eisenhart. I'm here on behalf of the Environmental Clearinghouse of Schenectady, or ECOS. Some of you may have heard of us. Maybe you've been on a hike before, seen us in the news. So I am here today to spread the message of the Nature Bus, which is going to be rolling out in Schenectady this coming summer. This is a program that has been successfully implemented in Albany for a number of years now, and this summer is going to be the first pilot iteration of the bus operating out of Schenectady. So it'll be the first version of the bus that is extending beyond the Albany area. So everybody here can participate. How many of you would agree that we live in one of the most beautiful parts of New York State? Raise your hands. Yeah? Okay. Raise your hand if you feel that everybody in this community has equitable access to that beautiful nature. Right. So this project, while it may seem small on paper, is a very crucial first step to change that. So I just want to first of all thank the council, the legislature rather, for the financial support that you've provided so far towards the effort in the amount of $1,000 that's contributing towards us making this happen this summer. But I'd also like to ask that you use your voice and your reach to spread the word to your constituents of this service, to make folks aware that we will be operating out of the Schenectady community this summer. So the partnership is with, again, ECOS, the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy. I'm joined here by Sarah Walsh, representing MHLC, as well as the CDTA. So we've collaborated to set up a network of 3 days this coming summer. So it's, again, quite small compared to the bus that operates out of Albany. However, we feel this is a manageable and very representative pilot version of the bus that we can scale. So what's going to be very important is that we have your support, your voice, and the publicity that you can help us spread the word about this bus, again, to make sure that we're connecting residents to the beautiful natural places that we have in this community. Just a couple of highlights. We have collaborations with Maybe Farm, which is a community treasure, of course. We also have the Leishakill Natural Area, which is maintained by the Land Conservancy, the Nature Conservancy. And we also have a collaboration with the Schoharie River Center to provide an educational experience as well at the Sanders Preserve in Glenville. So I recognize that this is not just the community of Schenectady that we have here tonight, but this project is going to allow us to build and scale and reach all of the communities that are represented here. So again, thank you for your support that you have provided. And again, would ask you to please spread the word and make sure that we can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Thorne. I'm a resident of the city of Schenectady. I'd like to thank Rich and Rich for letting me know that the meeting was here tonight, or I might still be standing outside of the county office building. I'm also here representing Schenectady Cooperative Extension. I'm a board member, and I'd like to invite you all to this year's Master Gardener plant sales, this Friday from 1 to 6, and Saturday from 10 to 2. I'll be there from 10 to 2 on Saturday, and I'd love to have you come in. We'll give you a tour of the facility, let you know what's going on. I think the Schenectady Greenhouse is probably the most visible part of Cooperative Extension, and the programs that run out of there are the most visible. But it's really, with Cooperative Extension, it's the tip of the iceberg. We've got, out of the greenhouse, we've got Roots and Wisdom, which works with disadvantaged youth by giving them job training skills and life skills. We've got the Master Gardeners over there that are there 2 days a week for the community, identifying soil samples and insects, plants. We have Little Diggers, which are preschoolers that are being introduced to gardening and nature. We've got the plant distribution and gardening classes over there, but other programs such as that reach into the community are Seed to Supper, which is a beginning vegetable gardening program designed for Schenectady adults who are facing food insecurity. Our staff goes into the schools, teach programs on nutrition, they teach programs on dairy. We've got lead safety programs, compost basics, gardening, climate change. The expanded food nutrition education program works with Head Start, preparing young adults that are transitioning into independent living. We've got the supplemental nutrition assistance program education, say that 3 times fast, SNAP-Ed, that partners with New Choices, and again, giving adults the ability, one tool of moving back into a productive life. Healthy Schenectady Families has worked last year with 231 families, helping them with the experience of child relations and parenting skills. We've got the Schenectady Menstrual Health Coalition, which was founded by 2 of our fellows last year. Essentially what it does is provides menstrual products free of charge to the underserved population. We've got vending boxes all over the city of Schenectady. We've recently been asked by other communities to collaborate with them, and now it's become a capital district program. And there's more, and I'm going to stop now. But if you think what Cooperative Extension, if you think you know what Cooperative Extension is, I don't think you do. I started out several years ago getting involved in the greenhouse in Schenectady. I then went on the board of Cooperative Extension, and I was just blown away by what I didn't know. And I've been on that board for 3 years, and I'm not sure I have a handle on all of the programs that we've got. But a lot of our fellows work hand in hand with the county, in county offices, collaborating with county offices, and I just wanted to make you aware, and hopefully you can come by Saturday, and we can give you a complete tour of the facility and in depth let you know what's going on with Cooperative Extension. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Thompson. I'm from Scotia, New York. I'm going to be reading this on behalf of my child, Holly. She's home now, sick. Last minute. These are her words directly in regards to the R30 initiative. So here we go. In a world where it seems every one of our rights are under attack, hope can be hard to come by for people within the LGBTQIA+ community, especially for LGBTQIA+ youth. Many of the places we are supposed to feel most safe and supported in, such as school, home, and while doing activities such as sports or clubs, are not safe or supportive for us. Simple things can have an impact and inspire hope for a group of people that is more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide compared to our peers. Seeing pride flags within our community is one way that everyone within the community can feel seen, supported, and safe. It makes us feel like we belong in places of education, in public, in this world. This feeling of acceptance can drastically decrease suicide attempts and suicidal thoughts in LGBTQIA+ youth. Please consider supporting Initiative R30, which will proclaim June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in Schenectady County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Schenectady County legislators. Hello, Schenectady County legislators. My name is Elliot. I am the president of Pride Club at the Scotia Glenville High School. I am 15 years old. Please excuse if I trip up. I am very nervous. The reason I'm here today is so I can talk to you all about pride flags. Surely you might be thinking, well, why are pride flags so important to queer kids? Well, let me share some background details and give some perspective. To begin, the Progress flag was made by a non-binary artist named Daniel Quasar in 2016 and has an arrow pointing to the right to show the LGBTQ+ community going forwards. These types of flags are so important to young queer kids and teens because it can make them feel as if they're safe in a safe space from scrutiny where they can be themselves. Just imagine if someone didn't accept you for being something that you can't even change about yourself. That is how queer teens and kids feel every single day when they're in school. We need to teach acceptance for every child so that everyone can feel equal. These kids and teens need to know that adults are working hard and their community to make their community a safe place for them to be themselves. They need to be seen for who they are and valued just as much as any other kid. So yes, a little rainbow flag can make a person feel immediately safe and protected. As an LGBTQ+ student myself, I find it hard to feel safe at school and in my community as many other of my friends do. So acceptance is difficult even in 2023, 54 years after the Stonewall riots, which helped bring gay rights into our social consciousness. But still, more needs to be done, and we can start by having more progress flags hung around our towns and neighborhoods. People naturally need others to accept them, and if they cannot find this feeling, it can lead to depression and other forms of mental illness. Research done by the Trevor Project in 2022 gathered that 41% of LGBTQ+ youth in New York seriously considered suicide in the past year. 41%. These statistics are unacceptable, and we believe that hanging pride flags could be a small step towards lowering these statistics and making queer kids more comfortable and crushing bigotry within communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dale Lingenfelter. I'm the Fire Chief in Niskayuna Fire District 1, and I also have the pleasure of serving as the chairperson for the Schenectady County Fire Advisory Board. And I'm here along with a few of our brother chiefs over here from the county fire departments just to thank the legislature for taking up the resolution later tonight in support of our volunteer and combination fire departments. I don't think any of you are not aware that the cost of equipment and apparatus has gone up astronomically over the last 3 or 4 years, and every little bit helps. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing it to the table tonight. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Seeing none, privilege of the floor is now closed, and I'll call to order the May meeting of the Schenectady County Legislature. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Present.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill.
Present.
Mr. Constantine.
Here.
Ms. Gatta. Here. Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Here.
Mr. Paterni.
Present.
Ms. Osterlich.
Here.
Ms. Valano.
Here.
Mr. Hess. Here. Mr. Hughes.
Present.
Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Present.
12 present, 3 absent.
Thank you. Members received copies of the minutes from the meeting held on April 11th. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. The clerk will read the list of reports received.
We've received reports from the Commissioner of Finance Department on weights and measures and the county clerk.
Thank you. Committee reports. Legislator Hughes, reports from the Committee on Economic Development and Planning.
Mr. Chair, the Committee on Economic Development and Planning met on May 1st and reported to the agenda Resolution 87.
Thank you. Legislator Osterlich with reports from the Committee on Health, Housing, and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Health, Housing, and Human Services met on May 1st, 2023, and reported to the agenda Resolution 88.
Thank you. And if you would, also the Committee on Labor and Civil Service.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Labor and Civil Service met on May 1st, 2023, and reported to the agenda Resolutions 9, 90, and 91.
Thank you. Legislator Paterni, reports from the Committee on Public Facilities, Transportation, and Infrastructure.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The Committee on Public Facilities, Transportation, and Infrastructure met on May 1, 2023, and reported to the agenda Resolutions 92 and 93.
Thank you. Legislator Constantine, reports from the Committee on Public Safety and Firefighting.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The Committee on Public Safety and Firefighting met on May 1st, 2023, and reported to the agenda Resolution 94.
Thank you. Legislator Gatta, reports from the Committee on Tourism, Arts, and Special Events.
Thank you, sir. The Committee on Tourism, Arts, and Special Events met on May 1st, 2023, and reported to the agenda Resolution 95.
Thank you. Legislator Fields, reports from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Rules met earlier this evening and reported to the agenda resolutions 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, and 86.
Thank you, sir. Also reports from the Committee on Ways and Means.
And the Committee on Ways and Means met on May 1st and reported to the agenda resolutions 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, and 95, and 96.
Thank you, sir. We have 3 ceremonial resolutions on the agenda this evening. They're resolutions 80, 81, and 82. I'll open the floor for discussion of the resolutions. Any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll on ceremonial resolutions 80 through 82. Members may know any resolution on which they wish to be recorded in the negative.
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Aye. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Aye. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 83-23, sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into an amendment to the collective bargaining agreement with the CSEA Local 1000, AFSCME, AFL-CIO, Local 885, representing certain employees in the Department of Engineering and Public Works.
Any discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Considine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 84-23, sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution to create a position in the office of the Schenectady County Attorney.
Any discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Considine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 85-23, sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution to appoint a commissioner of the Board of Elections for Schenectady County.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Upon making my vote, I would like to just, again, thank Laura for taking on this responsibility, and I wish her well in the future. I know she'll do a fantastic job. At the same time, I'd like to thank Amy for all her service that she has done, and a good training partner, and so may God bless you all. Thank you very much, and I vote aye.
Mr. Ruzo. I vote yes as well. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill.
I'd like to piggyback off what my colleague said, and thank you, Amy, for all the work that you did. I know you didn't have that much, but you helped me a lot, so thank you so much, and congratulations to you. I know you'll do a fine job, and thank you for everything. And I vote aye.
Mr. Considine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Thank you both so much for your service. I vote aye.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes, and good luck with your new venture.
Mr. Hughes.
I need to explain my vote. I certainly am voting aye here, but I'd like to point out that this appointment of Laura is the extension of a county agency that provides a service that I hope all county residents appreciate the value of. Amy Hild, in her role prior to this, we've become, I guess, a hunting ground for the State Board of Elections. They recognize the quality and professionalism of our people, and at a time when service in public elections has become, shall we say, a bit challenging, we're very blessed to have high-quality people like these to carry on the tradition. Laura, I know you're going to do a fabulous job, and I certainly vote yes.
Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. I know Amy and Laura are both in the audience this evening. Congratulations, best wishes to Amy. And if our new Board of Elections Commissioner would like to arise and introduce her family, that'd be wonderful.
First, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We work very hard for everyone in the county. If you have any questions or concerns, certainly call. This is my daughter, Emily, and my husband, David. And I have a little history. So thank you again, and we look forward to working with you.
Thanks. Congratulations. Our next item is Resolution 86-23, sponsors of Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution designating a change in the place for the meeting of the June regular meeting of the Schenectady County Legislature.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Considine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes, and I
Mr.
just for a note, I'd really appreciate moving the meeting around the county. I think it's great, fantastic for the community.
Mr. Hughes.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
I vote aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
And for the record, our June meeting will be Tuesday, June 13th. Meeting will be held at 7 o'clock PM at the Rotterdam Senior Citizen Center. Resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 87-23, sponsors Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding capital budgetary amendments for the construction of various infrastructure improvements to a cricket sports complex in the town of Glenville.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Making my vote, I would just like to commend the sponsor and those that are involved in this particular resolution, which is providing funding to help subsidize the field that's taking place in Glenville, in the hopes that in the future, that in 2024, we will have World Cup cricket here that will come to Schenectady County. I know this summer, this field will be looking to attract both youth and women Eastern Zone cricket that we played there throughout the summer, and then the minor leagues will actually be at somewhere July, August during the summertime. So there's a little major change that's taking place here in Schenectady County. Primarily that World Cup cricket is actually something whereby many countries, if you know in England, has just had its own coordinator, the king that just got crowned there, but countries like England, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, India, South Africa, the West Indies, islands in the West Indies, including Guyana, they're all, and even America, will be playing next year. So hopefully that there's a commitment to actually bring the sport here to Schenectady, and so therefore this particular resolution will go a long way in making that possible. So I vote aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Very excited for all of this, not only sports tourism that we've discussed many times through Discover Schenectady, but also what it's going to bring to the town of Glenville, and I vote aye.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Ostolich.
I'm also very excited for the leadership. I'm grateful to the leadership that made this happen, and I vote aye.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 88-23, sponsors Legislator Osterlich. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the acceptance of monies from the National Association of County and City Health Officials.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yeah.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 89-23, sponsors Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution to create and eliminate certain positions at the Division of Purchasing.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Ostolich.
Yes.
Mr. Valano.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Valano. Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
You said Mr. Jazinski, right?
I did.
Okay. I vote aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 90-23, sponsors Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution to create and eliminate certain positions at the Schenectady County Public Health Services.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostolich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 91-23, sponsors Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution to create and eliminate certain positions at the office of the Schenectady County District Attorney.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Ostolich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 92-23, sponsors legislative paternity. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the acceptance of monies from the New York State Department of Transportation and Federal Aviation Administration for taxiway improvements at Schenectady County Airport.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 93-23, sponsors legislative paternity. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the acceptance of monies from the New York State Department of Transportation and the Federal Aviation Administration for taxiway improvements at the Schenectady County Airport.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 94-23, sponsors legislator Constantine. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding budgetary amendments for funding of various volunteer fire departments.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill.
I just want to extend my hope and just say thank you to all of our volunteer firefighters. New space. Thank you for all the work that you guys continue to do, and we appreciate your service, and I vote aye.
Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Yeah, prior to voting, I'd just like to say that I'm very proud of my colleagues on the county legislature, because one of the most important things we do as a body is our support of public safety, whether that's law enforcement, our fire departments, our EMS agencies, our support of this endeavor, our dispatchers over at the Unified Communications Center. Our support of all of these agencies has been consistent and unwavering, and it's something we can all take pride in. I vote aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 95-23, sponsors legislator Gatta. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding budgetary amendments for additional activities of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau.
Any discussion?
Just a quick shameless plug for Discover Schenectady and our team over there, and thank you to our Executive Director, Todd Garofano, and his team. We do a great job in marketing this wonderful county, and this funding will help us to do that even more. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing no other, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 96-23, sponsors legislator Fields. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing a mortgage tax distribution of $1,676,436.28 to the various municipalities of Schenectady County for the period of October 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023.
Any discussion? Seeing no other, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt is absent. Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni is absent. Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is absent. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
12 aye, 3 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. And that concludes our business for this regular meeting of the county legislature. Prior to adjourning, we'd just like to once again thank our hosts at the Schenectady City School District, our superintendent and his team. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
On the motion, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Thank you. The legislature stands adjourned.